All right, 2.2 linear functions. Now this is the note sheet you need to be filling out either after you're done listening to this, or you can be doing it at the same time. Okay, what does the word linear mean? I would simply say it's a line. They're all straight. You can't draw a line that's not straight, otherwise it's not called a line. So they're straight lines, okay? A function, well, we already defined function in the last section. That means that the x's don't repeat, okay? And when we get farther along, we'll talk about some lines that are functions and some lines that are not functions. Today, the basis of this is to graph the lines. What's the purpose for graphing? It's important that you know this. Purpose for graphing a line is to represent all possible solutions that make the equation true. That's the reason we're doing this. If you don't know the reason why, it's kind of pointless to do it. A lot of people can memorize how to do it, but you need to know the reason why you're doing it. All right, the first way we should already know how to do. You did this in Algebra 1, and you might have done it a little bit in geometry. So let's just review this. The slope-intercept form of a line is y equals mx plus b. Most of us have seen that before, and we're pretty confident with that. Just remember that m is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. And that means where it crosses the y-axis. Don't mix up your x and y-axis or you'll get that part wrong. Okay? So the basic concept here is if you want to graph using this form of a line, you plot the b, this number, on the y-axis. Then you count m, this number. Now that's the rise over the run. If you're rising, you're going up and down. And if you're running, you're going left or right. Okay? If you're going up, that's a positive. If you're going down, that's a negative. If you're going to the right, it's a positive. If you're going to the left, it's a negative. So we'll have to watch the signs to decide how to graph those. So let's practice a couple. Number 1, graph y equals 2/3 x minus 4. Okay, the first thing we want to know is what's b. b is simply -4. So our directions above said to plot b, where at? On the y-axis. So which one of these is the y-axis? This is our x-axis, this is our y-axis. So if we're going to plot b on the y-axis, we're going to go to -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where we start. The second step was using the slope. Our m in this problem is 2/3. So our directions above say to count m. If it's +2 over +3, this would be up and this would be to the right. But we should also note that that's the same thing as -2 over -3, which would be down and left. So you can do either of those moves. And I like to see several of them. So if we start at the green dot at -4, we're going to go up 2 to the right 3, up 2 to the right 3, up 2 to the right 3. And I like to use all my graph paper. We're going to go down 2 to the left 3, down 2 to the left 3, down 2 to the left 3. And so far, all I've done is find some really nice solutions to this problem. So what it tells me is that 0, -4 is one possible combination that I could put in here and it would be true. Well, this is also an answer. Well, what is that answer? That one's 3, -2. Well, here's an answer. That answer would be 6, 0. This one's an answer. It would be -3, and that's 5, -6. And so we could keep naming all these points, but if my graph paper was bigger, I'd be naming points for the rest of my life. Well, I don't want to name points for the rest of my life, so I'm just going to draw the line. Now, you should use a straight edge because our lines are supposed to be straight, and they keep going, so you have to have arrows on them. Now, if you use a straight edge, this would be a little bit easier. But is this a solution? Certainly. Now, that's probably about 4.5, maybe -1.5, but I'm not real sure because I don't have a perfectly straight line. So I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I know it's a solution. I know that this number out here is a solution. I know that this number is a solution, but they're kind of fraction-y solutions, so I don't know what they are exactly, but I know that they are solutions. All right, your calculator will also do this for you. I say use what's fastest. I guarantee it's faster to do it by hand than on your calculator. So if we hit the y equals button up here, we want to clear this out, anything you have in there. You want to make sure these things are not black up here, okay, or it won't work. So we want to type this in. So 2 divided by 3 x minus 4 graph. And there is my line right there. Okay. Now, it's a little hard to read off this calculator, but you can pretty much see that you're down here at -4. I'm not really sure that you could tell exactly where this is hitting at this point right here, but we know it hit right at 6. Okay? But you can't tell for sure. So if you're going to do these on your graphing calculator, my question to you is, how are you going to get this picture onto this graph paper? Well, you can't just guess. You can't just come over here and try to draw a line and make it look like it's in the right spot. I'm looking for these dots. I need to see those dots. Well, see how it says table right here? Go second, table. Don't we have, oh, yours probably doesn't have decimals in here. I doubt yours has decimals. So I'm going to reset mine so it doesn't have decimals. Well, I don't know why mine's showing decimals. Okay, well, we can see these answers. Look, 0, -4 is right there. About 3, -2, that one's right there. 6, 0, you just down scroll here. There's my 6, 0. You can see all these fraction answers too. Okay, yours might say that in there also. Notice these are rounding eventually, but we're not going to round. So if you had to give me this answer, you would tell me that at 1, -3 1/3. So there's 1, 1, 2, 3 1/3 is this point right here. So you would know that's an answer. Okay? So the table gives you a lot of information that you can get on this line. Okay? All right, so let's try this one. It's faster to do it on paper first. So we know that b is 2, so we want to start at up 2. That's our starting point. Our slope is -3, so a lot of people go -3 over 1, okay? Which is the same thing as 3 over -1. If we do it this way, we're going to go down and right. If we do it this way, we're going to go up and left. So we can go down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1, or we can go up 3 to the left 1. And all of these, anything that's on this line is a solution. Okay, now that is much faster for me than grabbing my calculator, going to y equals, hitting clear, typing -3x plus 2 graphing it, then going to the table and copying a bunch of these points. You can do that, but if you start copying these points, then you'd have the right answer. You can do that if you want to, but I think this method is faster, and I like the fastest method possible. Okay? It's negative 2, 8 on our graph. Negative 2 up 8 right there. And you can see this table goes on forever. Not really forever, because the calculator eventually stops, but it's pretty darn big. I don't have any idea where it stops. I never go that far. All right. Moving on. Okay, now what's the trouble with this problem? Trouble with this problem is it's not in the form y equals mx plus b. So you need to put it in that form. If you want to use that to solve or to graph, you have to be in that form. So we need to get the y by itself. So we're going to move the 2x over here, and the x part goes in the front. So we're going to have negative 4y equals negative 2x plus 8, because I want the x part in the front. Now I need to divide by negative 4. If I do it to that, I have to do it to both of these. Well, these 4's cancel, and I end up with y is equal to 1/2 x minus 2. Now, provided you do all that right, this is a fabulous way of doing this problem. You would start at negative 2 on the y-axis. You would count up 1 to the right 2, up 1 to the right 2. Then go ahead and put all those dots. This should be pretty quick. I know you've done this before. And those would be all of our answers. Now, in order to type it on your graphing calculator, you do have to have it in this form. If you don't have it in that y equals form, you can see you won't be able to type it in. So in order to do it on your calculator, it has to be in y equals mx plus b form. If it's not, it won't work. Okay? My trouble with this is I get a lot of people who can't do this math correctly. So if you start moving things and getting signs wrong and then you don't divide properly, this will be wrong, which makes your graph wrong. So I'd like to have a method where I don't have to write anything down. Okay? As you could see in example 2, we didn't write anything down. Okay? I don't even think you need to write this stuff down up here. Okay? I think you just give me the answer. All this stuff, we don't need to write any of that stuff down. So I want things to be as fast as possible. So I've got another method for problems like this number 3 when they're not in the right form. Okay? So this might be new to some of you. Using the intercepts to graph. What we need to graph is either 1 point and slope or 2 points. One or the other. Okay? Well, in these problems, I'm going to tell you we're going to get 2 points. Okay? We're going to use these intercepts. To get the x-intercept, that means where it crosses the x-axis. This one is where it crosses the y-axis. So if we're going to cross the x-axis, all these points are 1, 0. This one's 5, 0. This one's 8, 0. All these points along here, you notice the y is 0. Well, if you do that up the y-axis, you'll notice that x is 0. So to get the x-intercept, this would turn into 0. Because you would multiply 3 times 0. I'm sorry, to get the y-intercept. Now, what's left in the problem? Negative 4y equals 12. So isn't y negative 3? So I know the y-intercept is negative 3. If I want to find the x-intercept, this is going to turn into 0. So what's left? 3x equals 12, so x equals 4. So the x-intercept is 4. I've got 2 points. I can now draw my line. So if you're trying to find the x-intercept, cross this out, and x would equal 2, because 5x equals 10. If you're trying to find the y-intercept, cross that out, and y would equal negative 10 thirds, which is negative 3 1/3.